Hello, welcome to the Wealth Transfer, where we talk about global economics, biblical principles, and protecting and preserving your family, church, and ministry's wealth. I'm Terry Sacka, Chief Strategist, along with Dr. Charles Vance. How you doing, Charles?
Good, Terry. We might add business. We're here to help people protect their business as well.
You know, that is very true.
Just financially. We're here to help people protect their finances.
And you know, that's a very good point, because in the business side of things, remember, I never even, I forget that. We do have a lot of people business accounts, because in businesses, the reason you would do it is you have too much cash sitting around, and it may be for the business, may not be, but if it's excessive cash, there's no better place to store it than in tangible assets. So I definitely would be considering that as well if you have just too much sitting there for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we've got a great show lined up this week. Going to be talking about, we ended up talking last week about the dollar and the demise of really what's an undercurrent maybe of some things that's going on that the general public doesn't see.
I think the undercurrent's excellent, because we've been talking about the IMF, and in the IMF being that the Chinese Yuan have come in, and then we got into the petrodollar. And remember, the whole petrodollar is the whole reason the Middle East is going down, why we have wars in the Middle East, why the push for Russia, because they were going after the petrodollar. And the petrodollar, we keep doing it, but let's do it again.
People really need to understand, because we've got some new viewers. They might not understand what that is. And this is really important for people to understand, because a lot of times people think, well, stuff's taking place already. Who cares what's happening on the other side of the world?
And you know, it's essential. So the petrodollar, we do, you're right. We should always be continuing to certain things anyway, because we can hear it a lot and it probably doesn't really sink in sometimes, because we think petrodollar is dollar for oils, or dollar for just oil. And it is, but it's not. It's a deal we made in the 70s with Saudi Arabia, where we said we will protect you militarily in the Middle East, and in return, because you're in charge of OPEC, you make all oil in the world be priced in American dollars. So then every country in the world, back since the 70s, come off the gold standard, remember, had to store American dollars. That's why they started buying our bonds in order to buy oil. Well, this has changed, and changed dramatically over the last 4 or 5 years. Barack Hussein Obama has done a brilliant job of trying to stop it, and failed at every part of it. Now, it wasn't the general's fault. The rules of engagement held them back. We failed in Ukraine. We failed in the Middle East. George Soros and the socialists, financed the overthrow of the Arab Spring, as you remember. And then, of course, we decided at that point, not we, but our administration, to get involved in Syria. And, of course, they thought they could throw over Assad like they did all of our other allies in the Middle East, and it failed miserably. Russia, directly invited into Syria, had confronted us. Now, we have, when I say this meaningful, we have lost every battle in that region to try to stop Russia, as Russia was attacking our petrodollar dominance as well as our reserve currency. So this is a really big deal. It's something to understand. We had a viewer, really kind, thank you very much for tweeting that to me, because he realized we had talked about this like a year ago, that these pipelines from Qatar were the main reason all of this was happening in the Middle East. Because if we got the pipeline in Qatar to supply energy to Europe, we would have cut Russia out of energy to Europe. And of course, remember, Europe's energy needs are all dependent on Russia. Germany needs 40% of their energy comes from Russia. So see, Russia's survival is the energy they send to Europe, and we were going to Qatar, and Qatar was going to provide the energy, and we were knocking Russia out. So Russia, in turn, knocked out our petrodollar deal, and sadly to say, it's going away. The game is over. It's just a matter of time.
Terry, somebody might, I would ask the question if I didn't know, why the big deal? Who cares if they buy oil with U.S. dollars?
Okay, that's excellent.
Our money is over here. We use it. What if they want it? Big deal. If they don't want it, big deal. Most people would think.
Well, it's true if we don't understand the connection. And then the connection to it was our dollar was in demand for the oil. And so the oil, by doing so, they need the dollars. Well, if our dollars are in demand, then that means our bonds, our U.S. treasuries would be in demand. And so the countries around the world started buying U.S. treasuries because they figured if this was the dominant reserve currency, everyone needed it to buy oil, then of course our bonds and treasuries were a safe bet to store their reserves. Thus, the American dream was born because we were able to finance our lifestyle in the government and finance expansion of welfare, military activities, and spending in ways we should never, ever have been allowed to do. But because we could print money and everyone needed the dollar for oil, we could print trillions, which of course we know today, right? 20 trillion right now in a debt, not counting about 100 trillion in obligations for all of our retirement programs and welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, and such. And so it's very important because they needed our dollar. And in needing our dollar, they bought our debt. They're not buying our debt anymore. People be real surprised. Everyone is dumping our debt. Well, then who's buying it? Right, Charles? We're $1 trillion in the hole every year. Who's buying our debt? The Federal Reserve, the banking system. They're pulling smoke and mirror shell games to buy the debt and move the debt around and push the debt around.
Now, I've got to
It's a big deal.
Got to stop you for a minute.
Sure.
Because if you're saying the Federal Reserve, that sounds like the government to me.
Well, but you know and I know. Oh, well, good point. Okay.
Well, most people, they hear that. Nobody stops and explains this on the network news, the national news, that the Federal Reserve is not the government. It's not owned by it. It's not operated by it. It's an independent group of very, very wealthy people, the wealthiest people in the world, and they operate this currency system, which they admit is, they call it fiat, which nobody much knows what it means. It means fake.
Fake.
And they freely say this is fiat currency, which means that it's fake currency.
Yes.
So they're using this to, again, why they're buying, the government is going in debt. The government's got to have somebody to buy them out of debt.
Yes.
Somehow to finance it. So who's financing them out of debt? The Federal Reserve banking system is printing more and more money and lending it to the government, and by doing so, purchasing bonds and T-bills, treasury bills. Is that right?
That's correct. And as a matter of fact, that's really good transition on that because they're doing the purchasing, or they're printing money. Remember, they don't have any money to print, meaning this used to be backed by assets, gold and silver. And that's our constitutional money, by the way. It's our biblical money, by the way. When they stopped backing it with assets and it was just, hey, I'm good for it. Don't worry about it. I'll pay you Tuesday. Got another $1 trillion. And Charles is exactly right. They're printing and printing money that they really don't own, and there's nothing backing it up. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation, a private bank, and the shareholders of the corporation are actually banks and the cabal banking system around the world. They actually get, if you read the Federal Reserve bylaws, they actually get a 6% return on the money, on the debt and the credits that they lend. So the Federal Reserve is in debt by trillions and trillions of money. They have nothing to back it up. They're, matter of fact, 71% leveraged on what they have.
I don't mean to laugh about this, but
I know.
Let me see if I've got this right. The rich, wealthy, rich people of the world they're printing currency. The government gives them make laws so that they can print more currency, so that they can buy the government's bonds with this fake currency, but yet they don't have any silver or gold or anything tangible to back up this currency. Am I right?
Nothing to back it up, except our strong might in the military and the owners of the SWIFT, which we'll get into. So the petrodollar was vital because as the petrodollar goes away, all of a sudden the need for the dollar goes away, the need for our U.S. Treasury goes away, which is happening right now as we speak, especially with the Chinese Yuan coming in as a new reserve currency. And so if our dollar's demand is going down and our standard of living is attached to that, and we're in debt to the tune of trillions, it's just a matter of time before it will impact we the people's buying power. And remember, the buying power is attached to what does this get you? And it has nothing, I mean, there's no comparison. Silver's buying power has been superior to that of paper money. So what we're trying to say is we're at this period in time that we'll probably never see again, have never seen, and it's a reset. Something globally is getting ready to happen, and it doesn't matter that President Trump is coming in. And it doesn't matter that President Trump is going to have a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate. Now, they're definitely going to do better, and they saved our soul from the socialist takeover of these anarchists on the left, but they're still going to face the same problem. If anything, President Trump will do a good job on managing as a business, but is still going to find a big correction taking place. So it's vital in our IRA, retirement accounts, businesses, and churches that we are properly protected. So we encourage you, get educated, if anything. Don't do it right now. Stay with the program, but take a look at this, and after the program, we'll help you understand.
Are you concerned about the security of your financial future? Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you prepare for the extraordinary times ahead by protecting and preserving your assets through silver and gold. At Cornerstone, the protection and preservation of your investment is our first goal. So we are here to serve you with honesty, transparency, and respect. Take control of your future by registering on our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com or call us toll-free at 888-747-3309. Call now, 888-747-3309. At Cornerstone, securing your future is our goal.
Now, getting an education is important, and Cornerstone Asset Metals is highly skilled at helping you transfer easily from where you are in your retirement accounts to a precious metals IRA account. But don't go register right now. Stay focused on what we're saying here, because we want to get back into the end section of what the petrodollar means now that it's gone. Because the struggle we've had to maintain it in the Middle East, that's why the wars, that's why Syria, has been epic. And we all know this, of course, we just didn't realize how it was attached. So here's the best example, I guess, to show you what I mean. There are 3 men in the Middle East who tried to use their currency and get out of the petrodollar. So what did these 3 men have in common? Well,
they were mean.
Besides being absolute dictators, but of course, the guy on the right was Ahmadinejad of Iran, and President Hussein Obama gave him gave them about what, $150 billion in that Iran deal, which was pathetic. But what they had in common is they refused to accept American dollars for oil. Iran was swapping Turkey with gold. Saddam Hussein started it in 2002 when they said, forget the dollars, we only accept euros for our oil. When did we invade Iraq? That's right, 2003. Libya, Muammar Gaddafi in the middle. We invaded Muammar Gaddafi. We didn't. Hillary Clinton did, with their brilliant move in the State Department, invaded Muammar Gaddafi to try to shut down and replace with Wahhabi, Saudi Arabian Wahhabism, which I'm so proud to hopefully know that now that the Clintons are gone forever, maybe the Wahhabi Saudi Arabian is gone forever in our system. Maybe President Trump can cleanse the government away from them as well. Because of that, though, we invaded them. And that's petrodollar for you.
So almost sounds like a conspiracy theory that you might be talking about. But the fact is, there is reality in what's going on. This stuff didn't happen. It wasn't just happenstance. It wasn't just a circumstance that happened that just evolved into place. You can follow what is going on with these folks, and you can see as they start to step away from the currency, the U.S. currency, there's horrible things that begin to take place in their lives. Terry, this is typical. If people would just look at history, they could start seeing, if you start messing with this, yes. And I know there's some theories that JFK announced he was going to eliminate the Federal Reserve, and I think it was within 2 weeks he was assassinated. And, you know, some people say, well, that had nothing to do with it. Well, it may not have had anything to do with it, but certainly there was circumstances that followed as well. When you mess with these folks, now somebody might say, well, is there a solution to that? Well, we're trying to give you a solution. To get an investment, don't let your money set, your hard-earned money, your retirement account set in currency, a fiat system, because there has to be, and Terry's mentioned this over and over again on this program, there has to be some sort of a correction. And what we simply mean is this has to come more to reality. There's nothing backing it. I've talked to a lot of folks about silver and gold, and Kelly and I we were down in northern Tennessee for a car show a few weeks ago and started talking to a sheriff, and he didn't know what to do with silver. He had retirement, and he said, you know, what are we going to do when things start happening? Because he knew that we talked with him just casually, walked up, told him we appreciated him, spent probably 45 minutes talking with this gentleman, and he was a gentleman, really had a heart for the country, had a heart for his government there, and he said, we don't know where to turn to. And there's a lot of folks that just don't know where to turn to with their retirement.
That's a really good point, Charles. You know, when it comes to now, just to kind of wrap up, these three men, there's no conspiracy there. We took these actions against these people because they were going against the petrodollar. And if we lost the idea of the petrodollar, demand for our debt goes away, our standard of living is compromised. And this is the issue here. So it wasn't conspiracy. That's why these actions took place, the wars. So as far as what to do, you store silver in a vault, whether it be an IRA or a personal. It goes like this. We store this in a bank. Constitutionally, this was our dollar. Article 1, Section 8, grains of silver. Congress has a right to coin money. Money was defined when the Constitution was written, grains of silver. The very definition of a dollar, grains of silver out of Bohemia, Germany. Silver is stored in a vault, no different than currency in a bank. Except no one controls this but you. The private vaults are not under government control. The banks just got to lock the door. So I have a lot of clients, they say, you know, I'd rather store constitutional money, First Amendment protected because ours is religious, than paper money in the bank. And when you need money, currency to spend, you just call, sell this off to the portion you need, and the funds are wired right into your bank account. So you're storing your retirement, you're storing your currency and wealth in real money, not the paper. And when you need the paper, you just sell it. And if you have it on hand, you can sell it locally. There's 1,000 places that would take it and convert it to these. Or you just sell it back to Cornerstone. Of course, they'll buy it and convert it back to this. So they're interchangeable. They always have been. Way back to when they actually were silver certificates and you would exchange them for silver. You just sell it and it converts. But you're storing it in this, which is if you have since 9/11, you've been storing this instead of this in the bank. Every $100,000 you have since 9/11, right now today, is worth $400,000 if stored in silver. And my guess, the $100,000 you may have in this is since 9/11 isn't worth near the same. It can't be. You see, buying power, the ability for you and your family and your church to buy and to help and to bless and to stabilize your retirement and your future buying power, it always was the right place to be. And it will never change going forward in lieu of what we're talking about here, because this petrodollar is a pretty serious problem and it's rolling us into what we want to explain. Now, the Chinese IMF, their currency coming in as reserve currency, using the petrodollar to take us down as they're moving in to the status of the leading reserve currency. That's what this is. And so we wanted to end it on those three gentlemen because the one Muammar Gaddafi in the middle, in Libya, the reason he was a big problem is he was paying off his troops and mercenaries in gold. And the U.S. government couldn't turn off their bank accounts. And it was a problem, you see. If you own silver and gold and more silver, and we can get into educating that with our material, they can't control you. They control you with this, and wait until you see where we're going to get in a few weeks and how much control they're going to have soon, because the war is on this. So understand that the Chinese Yuan coming as a reserve currency, and Russia and China using the petrodollar as this whole thing going on in the Middle East. Why the Arab Spring, war with Syria, Ukraine, the whole thing. Why NATO is pushing Russia to war, all revolves around oil. But not oil just for profit, control. Because if they don't need our dollar, they don't buy our debt, how do we finance a government that's $1 trillion in the hole every year, you see? So it's a very serious thing to we, the people's standard of living, and it can only be preserved through tangible assets because the fiat system in the West is going down. Not to zero, because they always have something, but it's a reset and a reckoning. And so we want to now get into here is showing you why it's vital that we pay attention and how close it really is. Because it all starting in Europe, and it already has, if many of you remember Greece, and just a few years ago, and how Europe collapsed on the Greeks, and they had to bail them out. Well, it's not the Greeks anymore. And Charles, this is where it's getting interesting, because now it is Deutsche Bank. And the Germans are the economic engine of Europe. So Germans are the economic engine. France is next with money. The Germans Germany is it. So when Germany's producing, Germany is flowing, everything's good. They need all their energy, half their energy from Russia, so you can see why there's a double standard. Germans don't want to push Russia too far. The U.S. does, because the U.S. knows Russia's trying to end their petrodollar deal. And Europeans are like, wait a minute, we need them for energy. America's like, listen, we'll get you into Qatar's energy, and we don't need Russia anymore.
Now, it's probably
See where this is going?
Yeah, it's probably worth mentioning that the German, what's the German?
Deutsche Bank.
Their bank doesn't have any tangible assets to back their currency either.
Oh, no, wait till you get into where we're going with this now. It's even worse than that.
I mean, I was just thinking it's worth mentioning, because
yes,
some
wait
people
till you
might
see
think,
this.
well...
Yep, and watch how this is going to evolve, because Europe needs Germany. And the U.S. was trying to make a deal in the Middle East with Qatar as the leader, in Qatar to supply the energy, take Russia out. That's what all this was about. And it's not by accident, by the way, that Hillary Clinton and the foundation sent 1.8 of the billion to Qatar. And a lot of people have been asking me that. Why would they do that? And I said, well, Qatar doesn't have extradition arrangements with the United States. I won't go any farther than that. But Germany is vital for the engine of Europe. Now, why does that matter to us, though? Without Europe, America collapses too, because Europe is our trade partner, number one. So if you think of a teeter-totter, one side goes up, one goes down. That's why when the euro goes up, the dollar goes down, and vice versa. If Europe were to absolutely collapse, because we're all intertwined like a woven cotton shirt, our American banking system goes down as well. And it's all attached to derivatives, which we're going to get into a nice little explanation on. But Deutsche Bank got in serious trouble. They got caught rigging the gold and silver price fix, and they admitted it in court. And not only did they admit it, they handed over evidence of the others who were colluding in the price.
Now, break it down just a little bit.
What
were they doing?
Rigging the gold and silver price fix. Meaning every day we wake up and the banks set the price for gold and silver, and they were rigging it. We all know they're rigging the numbers. Now, why is it important, though? They were selling derivatives for gold and silver to keep it down. They have sold roughly 350 ounces of silver on paper for every 1 real ounce in the vault for delivery. It's fake. Now, this is good because the kingdom has a chance to get protected by buying this stuff cheap. Real price of gold and silver is a lot higher. It will be eventually, because it has to, because it doesn't go up by its own. It's tied to the fiat, and the fiats in Europe and the United States are in serious trouble. So you're going to see the connection soon.
If people buy the derivatives and everybody would decide to cash in at one time,
Well, they can't.
so what would happen?
It would default. But it's
Which-
paper,
which-
so
which
it just
means
goes
what?
away. It
Yeah,
just-
so I mean, they're just selling a piece of paper that says you own
Yes.
so much silver.
Yes. And they don't. That's why you never want to buy paper. You always want to buy the real
the real
tangible.
thing.
Now, whether you take
Okay.
it home or whether you store it, because IRAs, you store it in a vault. But Deutsche Bank not only got in trouble there, they also got in trouble rigging interest rates and other things. So the U.S. Justice Department placed a $14 billion fine on your Deutsche Bank.
Wow. How do they have? How does the U.S. government have a right to do that to Germany?
Well, you know what? They control the SWIFT code. We're going to get into that next week.
Wow.
And wait till you see not only what they got caught doing, what they were charged, how we've backed down, but people, why would they do that then if they're in trouble? We need them. Wait until next week and you'll see. Until then, may God bless you with wisdom and understanding. May you get protected, and may you understand the power of God's money, tangible assets, to do that protection. Get educated, and we'll talk to you next week.
I want to encourage you to go to the website and register now, or call the toll-free number that's on the website. Somebody's there to take your call. If you get a busy signal, call back. If you get a recording, be sure to leave your name and number. Someone will give you a call back. Get ready. We're going to be back next week, same place, same time, right here for Wealth Transfer News.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those of you who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you who have cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call our toll-free number or register on our website now.